So, for people that don't know you, and for people that don't know why does this relate to grants, one, Tubbs works with artists, and then two, in live music, there's also a grant, which is the live music grant. So Tubbs is one of the few people that kind of overlaps over both of these grants, which is why I wanted him this first week. So for people that don't know you,
short and sweet, we do events, and we just create a platform for people to either showcase their, artistry, their DJ skills, events for people to, come and enjoy, both not just hip hop events, but also the culture. So you guys see I'm wearing the Club Bombay hat, which is probably what we're going to talk a lot about today. We do ethnic events. So I know that that's a big thing that Creative BC wants to, push within BC is more ethnic events. They want to fund those type of things. And that's something we do really well. So with Club Bombay right now, we run every single Thursday at Levels, and that's been running for about 4 years. And we also do little pop-ups at different places around the city. So we just do long weekends at Pearl. We just started a new pop-up at Bimini's on West 4th, and just throwing more and more cultural events. And with that, it's not just, we bring in these big artists. Like we have some people that come in from the UK and, outside of North America and stuff. But also every Thursday we do something called Live Music Hour, where we have artists come in and sing for about half an hour straight. So they do either covers, their own unique stuff, and just give new people that are local a platform to come and showcase their music. Maybe they haven't ever performed in front of anyone. Maybe they're a person that just creates music in their bedroom, and we give them that opportunity. So yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
So your week for events starts. Is your first event Wednesdays or Thursdays for your week?
Tuesdays is our first event. So Tuesdays we do Hip Hop Tuesdays. So tonight is our first event.
Is that okay? So Tuesday night is Hip Hop Tuesday. That's DJs.
Yep. Yeah, so that's DJs. That's at Levels.
That's at Levels.
Yeah, that's at Levels as well. So it's all hip hop, strictly hip hop every Tuesday. Thursdays is Club Mumbai. So that's like the ethnic events that we do. So South Asian music. One room is everything, Punjabi, Bollywood, fusion, everything. And then we have a smaller room that's strictly Bollywood music as well. And then we have the live hour before we open up to the DJs.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
So that's Tuesday, that's Thursday, and then what's your Friday and your Saturday?
Yeah. So Friday, Saturday, we do hip hop events at Cabana. I think twice a month we throw live showcases on Fridays before we open up to the general public. So we have local rappers, singers, R&B guys that all come through, showcase their stuff. It's kind of like almost open mic, but we have this guy named Isaiah. He's the one that kind of curates the guests and stuff like that. He's been doing it for the last 6 months over at Cabana. So we help facilitate that and give them the space to do that every second Friday, I believe.
Crazy. And then Saturday is strictly DJs?
Strictly DJs. Saturday is the night that everybody comes in and pops off, bottle service, all that. Party nights, yeah.
So if you're an artist, just not for Tubbs in Vancouver, but this I would say that goes out to a lot of different promoters. There's very few, when we were like DJs in the club, there was ever a stage for a live artist to go on. You would have to book a whole venue and throw a whole night. This piggybacking on someone else's night and stuff is actually like, I talked to FaZe about it, like you and like FaZe are kind of like the like pioneers, unless you got the idea from somewhere else, but like you guys were the people that I was like, holy, this is not normal. So if you're an artist, like what Tubbs is giving you is different examples. So Thursday, he's like, this could be your first time performing, you could never have performed before, there you go. And that's a very South Asian focused one. So most likely you're either South Asian yourself or you're singing in a South Asian language. And then I would say, if I'm not wrong, but the Friday is more like you've probably been performing and releasing music for a good 6 months to a year. You've built a buzz and you can like actually pull a crowd. Is that right to say?
Yeah, it's more about pulling a crowd, right? So, I mean, those type of shows definitely, when they go through Isaiah to get booked, they have to be reputable guys that can, we're not telling you to sell out and bring 200 people, but you should be able to bring your own friends of like maybe 15 to 20 people, just so that you have some support in the crowd. And that's what we tell people too. Like honestly, if you can't put 20 people in a room, how are you gonna get like sellout shows going, right? So yeah. You got to start somewhere.
So when it comes to club nights, like Saturday night, Friday night, again, if you're an artist, this is what I would suggest. Again, you would have to have been doing music for at least 6 months, promoting that track, hitting that track hard, hitting through the streets. Because Tubbs also did this for another artist who had dropped a banger. And so what you can do is you can, at those moments, you can hit up the DJs. And if your track is a banger and it's not going to clear out the dance floor, that DJ can play that song after, like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, wherever it fits. And you can go and you can take that photo. You can, like, if it's a real banger, the DJ might even give you the mic just to, like, rap along with that track or just hype it up before he drops it. So those are the two ways. Like, if you're in any city, if you can pull a crowd, right? Depending on the promoter, it might be someone like Tubbs that's like, you only need 20 people. It might be a promoter that's like, you need 100, depending on your city. And what I'm trying to say is what Tubbs is saying about this pulling 20 people, this was never an option. You always had to pull 100 because you would have to book out the whole venue.
Yep.
So if you're in another city and you watch this, you're like, oh, there's nothing like that. That was nothing like that here either. This is really new.
And FaZe really was the real guy that created that. Like, you're right when you mentioned FaZe. Like, when he was doing Van City All-Stars with Elite Entertainment and all that, and he started that back up, 15 years ago? He was that guy that was pretty much putting all those people on because he was able to convince the clubs, no, don't worry, it's going to sell out. People wouldn't go to bat like that for other artists and stuff. And the other thing I tell artists, too, about, like, nightclubs, like, even if it's just a Saturday night where it's just DJs playing, like, that's your opportunity to network. You know how many of those rooms have people that are in the industry that you want to network with? Not even just promoters and people that work at that venue, but you'll have other industry professionals at those parties that you want to get in front of, other DJs, other MCs, all that. So you really want to be out there networking, being in the scene before you go asking people, hey, can you put me on? Because I get a ton of people that I've never seen out ever, and then the first time they ever meet me or the first time they ever, approach me, they're like, oh, by the way, I'm an artist, can you put me on? And it's like, okay, man, well, I've never actually seen you at one of my parties. I've never seen you out. You don't come through. You don't, what? Again, and this is, how can we support you?
Yeah. So part of what I say is like have a plan. So if you're like, I'm going to reach out to Tubbs in 2 months. Okay, there's like 2 or 3 Fridays. I'm going to go check out the night. What's the music like? What's the crowd like? Do I even fit? And then
exactly.
If it's a deep,
because we might not be the best fit for you, right?
Yeah.
Like when we do Friday Saturdays at Cabana, we are definitely more of a little bit older crowd, maybe more hip hop. But your music might be more pop. It might be more fitting with like a 19-year-old, 20-year-old demographic. So you might want to go to Fortune. You might want to go to Aura. So definitely bounce around and see where your music's going to get the most traction. Don't just just because maybe my buddy knows him, I'm going to get him to put me on. That's never going to work.
Facts. So so for you guys on the artist side, there's hopefully some tips for you guys when it comes to like reaching out to promoters and stuff. And then tell me about, because you're booking artists for Punjabi market, right?
Yep.
So
yep, we're working on that right now. Yeah.
So what's that partnership and what's Club Mumbai like? Explain that whole like piece to me.
Well, with Punjabi market, like obviously I live in the neighborhood. I live like 2 blocks from Punjabi market. I grew up here. This is my hood, and I know a lot of people on the board. And when we were at Gulu's wedding, who's one of the board members, just a lot of people on the board started chatting with me, and they're like, "Hey, we have this event going on. We're doing this block party. We're gonna close down 2 blocks of Main Street, and we're gonna have like a stage, and we're gonna have some performers, this and that." So right away, my ears perked up, and I'm like, "Hey, how can Club Mumbai be a part of it?" Obviously, it'll be great exposure for us because just going out to these community events, more people hear about us, more people want to come out to our events. We just did like 5X and also the South Asian Festival at PNE, and there were so many people that came to our booth that were like, what is this Club Mumbai? We've never even heard of you guys. And so obviously on our standpoint, it's great marketing for us to be part of these events, but also for them putting on such a big scale production, there's so many things that they have to worry about. So if we could help them, take care of the entertainment side, bring in some of our DJs, help them with, facilitating or at least running the performances and all that, then they can worry about the 60 other stalls that they have going on and all the other, the food to the catering to the permits and all of that stuff.
So is there like a stage that you guys are going to have a DJ on, DJs, and you also book like artists that are singing and stuff, or did you just book all DJs?
So actually, like, they've booked their headliners now, so they have Pab Daraya, who's coming in from Australia, I believe, and then we have Gertej, who is a New York virtuoso coming in from New York City. So those are the 2 headliners that are already booked. But throughout the days, obviously we're gonna have a lot of local performances, small Bhangra groups, other performances throughout the day, and then we're gonna have a bunch of our Club Mumbai DJs just facilitating, making sure people go on when they're supposed to, and we'll have our DJs playing in between, just so there's no lag time or no dead air and stuff like that.
Great.
So that's a 6 hour period from 12 to 6 that we're gonna be helping out with them.
Amazing. So again, this brings me back to like, when do you reach out to promoters? So like Tubbs was saying, Thursday night is a more like an open night vibe. And in your own city, you probably have nights that are like open night vibe that are for your very first performances, for your second performances. And then they have events like this where you're like, hey, I dropped a track 6 months ago. I dropped a track a year ago. I've hit this many numbers, this many streams. I think it's time for me to hit the stage. Like, here's some of the smaller performances I've done. So these are like, this is what I mean. It's like catering your pitch. So if you know what those people do in your city, then you know how to pitch to them. So you only reach out. You wouldn't reach out to be like, let me perform at Punjabi Market, and you've never performed before, and you have no songs on Spotify. It doesn't make sense. So,
right.
So catering your pitch is so important. So if you're a new artist, you got to find like those local like open mics where they just let new artists come in, or you got to promote like crazy on your first show. Be like, this is my debut show. I've never performed before, but I will have like 30 tickets sold or 20 tickets sold or something that can justify me being there. And then when it comes to the festival stuff like Punjabi Market or 5X, you definitely have to have a release plan where you've been releasing for at least 6 months to a year, so that when they advertise your name, people are going to come.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the thing is like that's the crazy thing. You'll have people that will come up to promoters or people like me and be like, hey man, like, can I drop can I go on? Like, I want to perform this and that. And then you'll pull up their Spotify and it'll be like, oh, 100 listens or something. And you're like, yo man, you really have to like go out there if you want to be put in front of 800 people, because I'll be honest with people. I'll be like, you know what, the Indian market, like not like Punjabi market, but I mean just like the Indian crowd in general, like they'll boo you off stage, man, if they don't really know what you're doing. I'm just gonna be honest, right? The other thing too is like that Spotify stuff or whatever platform you might use, it's really important for you to check your analytics. So I'll give people some motivation here. Like, if you go back, look at what cities you're popping in. Like, I've seen artists that are like, yo, for whatever reason, I have way more streams in Nanaimo than I have in, any other city in BC. Cool, man. Go do your first show in Nanaimo. Clearly, people are fucking with you there, right? So look at that stuff. I'll even give you another thing. Like, when we did Payroll last year.
Because if you swear, I have to go back and edit it because YouTube will flag it.
Sorry.
So just you got two.
Sorry.
I'll get those.
I just get really passionate about this stuff. But,
so do I.
Okay, yeah, I'll watch out for that. Yeah. So like last year when we did Payroll, the crazy thing was I sat down with Payroll and we were just hanging out before the show. And the crazy thing was when we looked at his Spotify, he showed me, he goes, number one city listened to was Detroit. The number two city that was most listened to for Payroll Giovanni was Surrey, BC, which was crazy.
That's crazy.
It blew my mind, right? It just meant that everybody in Surrey really loved this guy, and that's why we really had to do that show for the people out here, and it was a sellout show. So those analytics really, really do make a big difference.
That's crazy. And that's, again, like if you're emailing Tubbs and you're like, hey, you go to his show, you met him at Club Mumbai once or twice, and then you grab his email, and then you screenshot him an email and be like, hey, this is where I'm at. Do you think I'm ready? That's such an easy pitch where we get so many DMs that are like, yo, I'm hot. Oh, it's like, no, like, do a little bit of research. It goes a long way. Okay, so I want to ask you one more thing about Club Mumbai before I switch off the subject. You guys posted a video with Miss Pooja.
Yeah, we did the first Miss Pooja show at a club here kind of in BC.
You guys... So then when I watched this video, coming from being in this scene for like over 10 years, it wasn't a festival booking. It wasn't like so, and for you guys that don't understand that are not South Asian that are watching this, or don't know the Punjabi market, like it's almost like a Beyonce. It's almost like that level. Like
Indian Beyonce, yeah, I guess so.
She is one of the biggest players and the longest players in the South Asian like Punjabi music industry. So tell me like how that happened.
Well, I gotta give props to TBM, man. TBM, for those of you guys don't know, he owns Hustle Records. He is our entertainment director and my partner for Club Bombay. And he's the one that's been grinding in this industry for years and years and years. And he's the one behind bringing us all these great acts. So, if you look at even some of the acts we've done, we were the first ones to bring like Balvan and SB down to BC. We were the first ones to bring Raf Sapera. We were the first ones to bring BK. Now people like Raf Sapera are doing Live Nation bookings across Canada. But you know what? Like we're the ones that were able to bring these people in, and that's all to do with TBM and the connections he has in this industry. And the other thing too is like because we've done some really really good shows and worked with some higher profile people, they've said some really good things about us in the industry. So even someone like Miss Pooja, who's not really comfortable doing a ton of club shows. She's more used to like performing maybe at someone's wedding or maybe a hall show or something like that. Because some guys in the UK and a few other artists said some good things about us, she was like very comfortable to work with us. So now we're just known as the brown guys in Vancouver to work with when it comes to doing shows.
And this is what we always say: if you don't have a platform, build a platform. And you guys are like a really good example. And so is 5X. Like 5X came in when nothing was there. They kind of got it to a level. You guys kind of took it to the next level. Okay, so then for anyone now, you guys know a lot of artists also worked in club promotions at one time. Baba Khan is a great example of a promoter DJ who also broke an artist. But for people that are more into the music industry on your side, like how did you get started in like entertainment?
Yeah, so honestly, entertainment. I applied to a shady Craigslist ad, man. This Craigslist ad was like, "Do you have a lot of friends? Do you like to party? Come work with us." And I was like, "Hey, that sounds like me."
Wow.
Honestly, yeah, it wasn't anything. It wasn't anything else. But that's how I kind of got started. But
you could have got kidnapped. You could have got kidnapped. We would have never seen you again.
In hindsight, meeting this guy at a random Tim Hortons, yeah, I was a little bit nervous at the time, being 19 years old.
No one do that. Okay, no one do that. Okay, so. So were you? Yeah. How old were you around that time?
Yeah, I was probably like 19. Yeah, just 19 before I turned 20. Yeah.
And so you graduated high school, and had you thrown parties in high school, or did you kind of decide like I was just looking for a job, and you were just on Craigslist looking for jobs, or what?
So
like, what was the beginning?
So honestly, actually, it's a good thing you mentioned that because in high school, I think where I got my passion for doing this thing was I was always part of like students council and other like clubs and stuff. So we were always the ones throwing the school dances. I'm out there selling tickets, trying to convince my friends to like come to the dance. So I'd be like, give a free ticket to the cool kid. All the other kids can buy tickets, things like that. So I think that's really where my passion like arose. And that's funny you say that because I never really thought about that. But yeah, that would be my first couple of parties that we should throw back in high school.
That's crazy. So then out of high school, you're 19. Are you in like post-sec? Did you take like an events course? Were you in like anything, or did you just go straight to Craigslist?
I was taking accounting at Kwantlen, bro. I was nothing to do with event promotions, nothing. Just literally took a chance because I wanted to make extra bucks. Like I'm a hustler. I've almost always had like 2 to 3 jobs. So this was like, okay, evening and weekends. Okay, cool. I can do this on my spare time. And luckily I stuck with it and made some really good connections. And the people that hired me, none of those people are even involved in the industry anymore. I just kind of like, through them made all these relationships and made lifelong relationships that kept us going, man. So
you started, so if it was a Craigslist ad, it was probably like another promotions company that had like a couple weekly club nights?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll give him props if he ever sees this, but his name is Chris Hundle. He used to own XPT Entertainment. You remember Chris? Yeah. Yeah. So I met him at like Tim Hortons or something, or a Starbucks, and he brought me on. Our first ever event was at Plush nightclub back in the day.
Because was he doing one-offs, or did he have a weekly night going?
So no, he was doing one-offs underneath other promoters. So he was like a sub-promoter.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like the sub-promoter, like under him, who was under another promoter. And the crazy thing was, like, I think back then I was getting paid like $1 a head or something like that, like whoever I brought. What ended up happening was we were working at Plush, and then the main promoters at Plush, Mark Rasta and all his boys, they came up to me, they're like, "Hey man, are you Tubbs?" And I was like, "Yeah man, what do you call it? I'm Tubbs." He's like, "You brought 80 people this week, right?" And I'm like, Yeah, I brought you people. Thanks, man. He goes, well, your whole company brought 100, so you brought 80 of the 100 people. And I was like, oh, I was like, I didn't know that. Like, I guess, I just thought everyone's just bringing whoever, right? And
Yeah.
he's like, oh, how much are they paying you? And I was like, oh, I'm getting paid like $1 a head. And they were like, cool, man. Just come work for us directly. We'll pay you $3 a head. And I was like, okay, cool, man. That's dope. So, automatically you get a pay bump and,
Yeah.
you just start working your way through. So,
So
yeah.
how did you navigate that with Chris? Did you tell Chris, like, they want me just to work directly, or was Chris walking away, or did Chris, this was like specifically, like...
Yeah, Chris was just kind of doing like once in a while. So then I just started working with these guys continuously. And I still did other parties with Chris when he did other clubs and stuff like that, would help him out. But like with Plush directly, I just worked with them weekly.
Oh, because, yeah, Chris is doing one-offs and these guys are every week. So it's not really a conflict, like you're hopping on.
Yeah.
And
Chris was doing parties everywhere. So yeah.
Were those hip-hop nights? Or were they every...
Those were, well, I think they're a little bit of everything. I think back then, like, clubs just paid kind of open format now, right? Like, now, really, clubs have really been like, okay, this is the EDM club, and now this is the hip-hop club. But back then, it was always open format everywhere, right? You had guys like Remsta was playing with, like, some other, like, EDM DJ, and they were all playing pop, and they were all playing everything, yeah.
Yeah, facts.
So
then you joined with Mark, and what company was Mark's company?
Pure Image Entertainment.
Pure Image.
So that was Mark guys.
And what's that club called now?
So Plush then turned into Gossip, which turned into Harbor, which is now Enzo.
Okay, so for anyone's wondering, it's Enzo that he's talking about. That's where it's at. So now you're working with Mark, and then when did you decide, like, that you were going to go out on your own, or did he say it's time, or like, how did you navigate that? Because it's also, the reason I'm asking these is because in either as an artist or as a promoter, there's people who have burned bridges trying to get ahead.
Yeah.
And you've gotten ahead, but maintained all of your relationships. And so that's why I'm just trying to, because I don't want someone to like, be like, oh yeah, Tubbs was like, I just jumped ship 10 times until I got, that's not what he's doing. So how did you navigate? So you navigated Chris and Mark because they didn't overlap. They weren't 2 weekly nights, so they're not competing. So then how did you navigate after that?
So honestly, at the end of the day, like, it just comes down to being open and honest and building relationships, right? And if you can really tell the people that you're working with what your end goals are. So for me, I was just like, hey man, like, my people, want to try different clubs all the time, so I'm open to working with everyone. And sometimes some people might feel sore about that, or if that's not in their business model. But a lot of the people I worked with were like, hey man, whenever you want to bring us people, we'll be happy to pay you. And if 1 week you want to go somewhere else and bring your people there, we're happy. But just keep sharing the love, and we'll keep sharing you back. Even to this day, man, like I have people that hit me up all the time, and they're like, hey man, do you have a plug at like Mansion or Pierre's, or do you have a plug at like Bar None? And I'll be like, hey man, hit up my friend here. He's the VIP manager there. Hit up my friend here. He's the GM here. And I never ask any of those guys for like a kickback or money or anything. I just want them to be taken care of when I send them business. And then vice versa. I guess so people send me business all the time to Cabana or Levels or wherever it may be, right? So, if we can have this mindset of like, it's not about like undercutting or competition, like there's more than enough money to go around. Even when we first started doing Club Mumbai, we had people, and this one I won't name names, but people were like, hey man, like you guys are like, stepping on our toes and, biting what we're doing. And I'm like, there's more than enough brown parties that can be around. Like, look at them now. Like, almost every club does them, right? And I'm glad that we were able to push that narrative, because before there weren't much. There may be one person maybe doing once a month or here and there. And now, like, I even told that person, I go, hey man, it's not like I go to other clubs and go, hey, don't do a hip hop night. I'm doing hip hop nights. Like, people are free to, do whatever they want to do. But as long as we're respectful and, and it kind of pushes everyone to also up their game, right? Like if your content or your, even your posters or your videos and whatever it is aren't up to par, guess what? Other people coming in and creating competition just makes you make your brand better, right? Make you work harder. So that's the way I see it. I think there's enough money to be made around that people don't have to worry about, people. Yeah.
And the scene, like the South Asian population has grown, like just in simple numbers, like, but it's grown, like we can sustain more.
But how we started 4 years ago, but to give you an example, so 4 years ago, me and my partner, Jag Group, we actually were out on a Thursday night. We're just hopping around, having drinks at a couple of different places. And at the end of the night, we were both really drunk, and Jag turns to me, he goes, hey man, how are there like 4 different Latino nights and Indians don't have anything going on? And I
Yeah.
was like, well, I don't know, man. I guess no one really wanted to like take it on. He's like, well, why don't we take it on? And I was like, man, you and me are like the whitest brown boys ever. Like, what are we gonna do, right? Like, I'm like, we don't know anything about this music and how would we run it, right? But
Yeah.
then how it started was we started talking about the idea of it, and I remembered one of my friends from college, Andrew Kochar. He was partnered up with TBM and they owned Hustle Records. So I went to Jag and I go, hey, one of my buddies, he actually owns an Indian record label. Let's ask them to get involved. So we had a meeting with Andrew and TBM and we said, hey, what if you guys controlled the music, the DJs, the entertainment, you do all the bookings, you guys take care of the entertainment side, we'll do all the contracting with the clubs, we'll make sure everyone gets paid, and we'll create this thing called Club Bombay, and that's how it kind of came about. And for the first year, we never even told anyone we were involved. Like me and Jag would just be like visiting our friends Andrew at Club Bombay. Let's see you there. Because we didn't want to confuse people with the brands because it's really easy to get put into a niche. So we don't want people being like, oh, so our Tubbs Entertainment parties all going to be brown parties now? Like, so we don't even put a Tubbs Entertainment like logo on anything. It's totally separate. The Tubbs Entertainment is our hip hop brand, and then Club Bombay is our South Asian brand. So that's how we kind of market it that way too.
Wicked. So where you're at now, just again, I'm gonna ask you just business model. Again, just for people that are kind of in this industry, you as promoters, usually when promoters start, you have to build your way up. So now, as a business model, is it like ticket sales and then like a percentage of bottle sales and a percentage of the bar, or is it nothing on the bar and only bottles and tickets? Is it only tickets? Like, how does that work on your end?
It really depends on your relationship with the club. Mm-hmm. So with myself, like I have some really good relationships. Like I said, over the last 15, 16 years, we've been able to harbor those relationships. So even like the GM of Levels now, like he used to be a busboy at O-Bar when we worked back at O-Bar. So he worked his way up and he's like a general manager now. So I have a very good relationship with him. So we get maybe a sweeter deal than most other people would. But yeah, it can be a combination of that. So usually it's, you keep ticket sales, door, all of that. And then if you have a good relationship, maybe the bar will give you a kickback. But most of the time, the bars will just be like, hey man, we keep all the bar money because that's where we want to make all our money. You guys take care of, but getting people here and whatever you want to charge them, you guys keep that as well. And then some bars will actually take some of the door if they feel that more people are coming to their night because they're the ones that are bringing people and not necessarily just all you. So it just depends on the relationship you have with the venue. So that's how you can arrange that.
This is awesome. Yeah, and so for you guys who don't, especially people in Vancouver who don't understand the cover system because it's different here than other places, like if we want to have a South Asian night at a venue that doesn't do South Asian music, like they're not going to give us the money that they're going to make at the bar anyway from people coming in on a Thursday anyway. And so if you want to support, people think, oh, I'm going out, I'm buying drinks and stuff, I'm supporting my boys that are promoting. You're usually not. The only way that those guys are making something is when you pay something at the door. Or you can always ask, like, hey, Tubbs, I want to do bottles. If I do a bottle, do you guys keep a cut? Like, these are your boys who are going to, like, help you navigate the club industry for, like, your whole life. So just ask them, because they might not even get anything from bottles. They might only get something from tickets, and maybe they just need people in the door because they're just starting or whatever. But in most cases, like those ticket sales, those $10 or $20 cover charges, that's the only way they can have a Latin night. That's the only way they can have a South Asian night. That's the only way they can have like a 90s night. So that's the way that you support the promoter, and then your bar, that the drinks that you're buying at the bar, that's funding the owners of the club and like their staff, their bar staff, like all the people that are inside. If they have rentals, the rent that they pay, which is usually crazy. So just like going there and buying drinks, they'll do that anyway. If you want to have that musical night or whatever, live music, whatever it is that promoter is bringing to that venue, it's almost always has to be in the ticket sales.
That's facts, bro, because I'm so happy you brought that up because so many people say that. They go, hey, man, just let me in, and, we'll pop off at the bar. And sometimes I just, in my head, like, I don't want to maybe say anything, so sometimes I do sit and I'll be like, yeah, but that doesn't help me, man. Like, I got to pay for all these DJs. I got to pay for the bottles. I got to pay for the DJs, maybe go-go dancers. Maybe there's a performer. Maybe there's something else going on. Like, that's how those people get paid, is what we collect at the cover charge. That's how our promoters get paid. That's how we get paid. And guess what? At the end of the day, you buying drinks, that's great. It does help the overall night. It helps us look good. Like, obviously, if bar sales are higher, that club is going to want to keep us there longer. But that doesn't actually help us pay for our entertainment costs or anything else that we're funding for the night. So that's really, I'm glad you brought that up, because yeah, a lot of people say that all the time, and they go, "Don't worry, man, we're going to drop money," and we go, "Cool."
It doesn't matter.
pay the $10 cover.
Yeah, if it wasn't for promoters, every club in Vancouver would just be top 40. That would be it. It'd be what makes it was what they wouldn't have to advertise, and you would go. The only reason you have a diversity in Vancouver is because of where the promoters are. Because if you think about it, radio stations in other cities, there's lots of different genres because the populations are so big. But our radio stations are almost all top 40. There's almost no difference between each radio station. Your club scene would be exactly the same because of our population in Vancouver if these promoters are pushing into these markets, like a Latin night, like a South Asian night. You think a club would have taken a risk on like what you guys? No way. There's no way a club would have been like, they need the promoters to bring that idea to them, take some of the risk and all that stuff.
And that's absolutely true. Like, even with like DJ selection and all that too, like, bar owners, managers, all that, they have so many other things to think about, like, you know, hiring and firing their staff, bartenders, bottle girls, security, making sure there's enough inventory, is there enough booze in the premises, is all the maintenance done, all that type of things is what the venue has to worry about on a weekly basis that people don't know about, right? People just think, oh, they open the doors and the place is open, why do we have to pay a cover charge, this and that? Well, guess what? Guys like myself come in with a marketing plan, guys like myself come in with an idea and a vision, we sell it to them, we bid on contracts to get those club nights, right? And then you're right, man. Otherwise, if everybody just had the same music and the same plan, none of these places would make any money because no one would want to go anywhere because everything's the same.
Yeah, or everyone would just make the same. Like every place would be the same, and we wouldn't have the diversity. So, okay, so I'm gonna just wrap it back to my grant. So what are you guys planning now for? Is it like mainly weekly club nights and your performances for the rest of this year? Are you planning something for next year? Like, what's next for either Tubbs or Club Mumbai?
Yeah, so like, I mean, in terms of like Club Mumbai, that's where we do a lot more of the bigger South Asian shows and stuff like that. Our goal is to do one big show every single month this year, and so far we've been doing
wow.
Yeah,
like one like one singing headliner or DJ.
Well, none of them really been DJs. So we do bring in a lot of DJs from locally, just because locally South Asian wise, like, between all the different wedding companies, there's so many really good DJs that are out here that, you know, are sick and tired of playing weddings all the time. So if they play that one club gig, they get tons of great content, but also they just have a ton of fun. So we book those guys all the time. We rotate through them. If there's any DJs that are watching this that want to play at Club Mumbai, hit up TVM and he'll plug you in, no problem at all. But what we're trying to do is every month, at least for 1 week, every month, we want to bring in like a Miss Pooja caliber, or like, you know,
that's crazy.
We're just about to drop it now, so I guess by the time this goes on YouTube, you guys will already see it. But we're gonna do a show with Channi Netta and Mogga at the end of this year, at the end of this month, and that's gonna be their first really big show since they've blown up and done like their India tour and all that as well. So yeah, what do you call it? We did them. And again, those were one of the guys that we did for the first time last year. Before this is the first place they ever performed, and now they're doing tours across fucking Asia and the US and UK. They even just did the big show out in UK, and you know, now we're bringing them back to kind of follow up with that, right?
Yeah, so, this is crazy. And like, if you think about like when Tesher's first blew up, he was just in Vancouver, and where did he go? Club Mumbai. Like, you guys, if someone's in town, they come to you.
Can I tell you a fun Tesher story?
Yeah.
Just real quick. Okay. So I love Tesher since he dropped Young Shahrukh before he was even popping. Okay. Yeah. And for whatever reason, one night when I was drunk, I ended up DMing him being like, hey man, if you're ever out in Vancouver and you ever want to come through, we got this thing called Club Mumbai. I sent him the page. I'm like, just come be our guest, come hang out, whatever, right? And obviously back then he wasn't that big. He saw my DM. Thanks, man. That's really cool. Good for you guys. If I'm ever in town, I'll hit you up. And then obviously, like, Jalebi Baby blows up. He becomes super popular, and I'm like, all right, this guy's never gonna talk to me again or whatever. I even like messaged him a few times, being like, hey, sick song, like whatever, left on red, all
Yeah.
of that. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm never gonna get to talk to this guy again.
Yeah.
But then what happens is he gets booked for 5X, and he comes and he does the headliner at 5X, and guess what happens? He messages me and goes, hey, bro, gonna take you up on it. I'm in town now. Can I come by Cabana tonight? Looks lit. I was like, whoa, this guy's actually remembered me. Like, that's wild. And so now twice whenever he's been in Vancouver, he's met up with us. He's come through to Cabana. He come through to Club Mumbai. And the crazy thing is, I went for lunch with Ezu a little while ago. He's like a big UK singer, and
he's sick.
And
Ezu is sick.
Sick. I love Ezu, right? So we did a show for him last year as well at Club Mumbai. And when he was back here singing at a wedding, he just hit up me and my partner and he goes, hey, let's go for lunch. We're in town. So when we're with him, he's like, hey, man, I saw Tesher in England and he was saying really good things about you. And I'm like, you and Tesher are talking about me and us in Club Mumbai and Tom's Entertainment and Cabana? Like, wow, what?
Crazy.
Like, yeah, so I just thought that was really cool, and like those things kind of like do come back full circle in those relationships you make. Right? That's
so cool that you didn't have to reach out to him again, that he remembered. But then this is like, your reputation is what you do consistently, and so that's very consistent. So I'm gonna bring this back to the grant. So if you're an artist and you're applying for a grant, you see where Tubbs works in this world. So if you can perform at Club Mumbai, and the thing that Club said that he snuck in there about DJs was it's good content. So doing a show that you don't get paid to do because you're like, well, I'm going to apply for a grant in 6 months. I need to show these guys that I'm out there doing stuff. That is a great way to have something on your grant applications because they want to see that you're out there performing and trying to build a fan base. So as an artist, that's what I'm saying. There's two places you would hit up Tubbs. Either you're a new artist, South Asian, and you can do something on a Thursday. You're more established, just let him know, because obviously him and TBM are booking artists for these partnerships that come up, like Punjabi Market, like 5X. Or if you're a brand new artist, just ask about the open mic. If you're not in South Asian music or you're in hip-hop and you're a top 40, but you have a banger that you've been promoting for a long time, like I would say minimum 4 months to 6 months, or it just goes viral in a month, that's where you want to like go out, meet one of the DJs if it's hip hop, and just see if one of the DJs can play it for you like at midnight. And again, hype it up on the mic, film it, and that's another thing for your grant to be like debuted the first club show, 1 song performance at Cabana, and those things look really good on the grant application because these are the things that are putting you above other artists. Now for the live music side, I think for you, and just to explain what I wanted to do today too, like I would have called Tubbs anyway and had this conversation with him because I want to see if he should apply for a grant for next year. So now you guys can kind of see what like me and Tubbs would have talked about anyway, because I would have asked him, what are you doing for the rest of the year? So this whole like I'm trying to book artists once a year thing, this is something new that I'm learning. So I think for next year, like you guys could apply for the live music grant for like one of those nights where you do it at Club Mumbai, but it's like a headliner that's maybe Canadian, or maybe it is a UK headliner or whatever, because like Kashmir, there's like Raja Kumari, there's all these other, but
we do tons of the Canadian guys too. Like even right now, Blamo just came on. Shout out Blamo. He came through with the Brown Boys, with Big Bird and
crazy
and all these guys when we did the Brown Boys show here. So shout out Blamo for jumping on here. But
anyway, that's sick. Yeah, I meant I DJ'd at Desi Fest and they came out and it was crazy. But before COVID.
Those are awesome, man. Yeah, dope.
So, and then obviously your opening acts have to match your headliner. So I think the grant application, if I was you guys for next year, it would be like this headliner. Yes, this headliner is not from Vancouver, but if we book that headliner, we can put these 3 opening acts that we can help break that are all from BC. Because Creative BC, the grant is about the BC economy, BC artists, BC culture, right?
Right.
So that you guys already have a venue, you already have a brand, you've already been doing it. Like for Tubbs, for example, that Miss Pooja video is so good for his grant application. Like the way that I try to explain this is they're not going to give you money to like start a fire. If you have a fire going, they will give you money to make that fire bigger, right? They don't want to get
the fire.
That's how. So every time you'll see like, oh, bro, A-Slam's not even that good of a rapper. that's fine. I have a fire going. I've been dropping original music for 3 years now consistently.
Right.
They didn't fund me my first 2 years. Like, But I kept dropping releases, dropping videos, and then they fund. So sometimes people will be like, oh, how come these artists, because they're not it doesn't matter. If they're doing the most consistent amount of work and what they're doing is good for the BC economy, they're going to get funded.
Right.
So I think that's the grant that you guys should apply for. And I think I told you this too, you got to give it it's going to take you 40 hours. So it might not be worth your time because you guys are so successful right now. But like I said, you guys have worked with Harpo now. She was from 5X. They got a grant for what they're doing. So you have people who have got grants before that you could reach out to. Yeah, so that's what I would say. That's what I would say.
I want to touch on what I was telling Hussein earlier, or before the call even, is that one of the main reasons the first few times we never even got through the application was it was so daunting.
It's crazy.
And that's okay. The first time you see it and you're like, holy cow, how am I going to get all this information and all that? But then you have these coaching calls with these guidance counselors pretty much, and guys like Hussein that will walk you through the process and, simplify it for you and maybe take that dauntingness off.
Yeah.
Right? So, I appreciate you being on me to work through this with me. Yeah.
And part of I was saying for you guys putting in an application is there's grant judges who are at the top of the BC entertainment economy. So even if they don't award you the grant, they spent an hour between them learning about Club Mumbai, learning what you're doing. So then when you apply again next year, they're like, oh, okay, they see the growth.
We've seen these guys.
So that's why I think you guys should get one in, whether you get it or not.
Yeah.
Because those guys need to know who you are. There's people now that at that, they all know who 5X is. They all know who Delhi to Dublin is. You guys are next, right, in that lineup.
Yeah.
So I think you guys should put one in. And then for you, when you're talking to artists now, that are whether they don't understand why they should be doing stuff for free or what the point of your open mic is or whatever, you gotta you could just, if they don't have a plan, whatever, but it's really simple. It's hey, do you have a marketing plan for breaking your song? You can come shoot content here. Or if you guys are applying for a grant, this is what is so key and where you kind of fall in is if they come and they do a great job and they bring 20 or 30 people and then they just go, hey, Tubbs, I'm going to write a letter of support about what I did. Can you sign it? That is huge because then they can get a letter from you that's Club Mumbai, letterhead. And that just says, he came, he was dope. Because the judges don't know South Asian music really. They might, I don't know who the judges are every year, so they might be getting more in. But we've been such a new genre. But if they can see, oh, Tubbs has been doing a South Asian club night for 4 years and he vouches for this guy or this girl as an artist and for a live show, those letters are the 1 or 2 points that help people get go over the edge. Most people miss their grant by 4 or 5 points. Yeah. So that's where I think on the artist side, you're a really good reference to help promote artists and to be part of the application. And on the Club Mumbai side, you guys got to put in your own grant.
That's such an interesting point because I think if everybody that is applying, if they did that, they know enough people that they've worked with, whether it's, club owners, venue owners, promoters, DJs that they've worked with. If you get those letters of recommendation and that person is a notable figure, that just puts you at such a higher regard than your competition versus those people that don't have those letters.
I don't know if you remember, but 3 or 4 years, when I got my very first grant, you gave me a Tubbs Entertainment reference letter because I had DJ'd a couple nights for you. And then I had sent you the song and been could you vouch that this is a banger? Because it's a dope track called Tonight that's on my YouTube channel. And that was the first ever, we used Tonight, I think, to get the Bout Us grant. So Tonight was out and then Bout Us, what was next? But Bout Us was my very first ever grant for a video. So
nice.
I also asked Tubbs for
Yeah. I do remember. I have it actually saved in my laptop, that recommendation letter.
That's a pre-letter. Okay, that's dope. I think that summarizes everything. This was so dope. So I appreciate you for your time, bro. And then I'll edit this and then I'll cut it up and post it up.
Amazing.
Cool.
Brother. Okay, got it, man. Thanks you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you everybody
Cheers,
for watching.
Bro.
All right, bye-bye.
Peace.